And welcome back to Talk of the Town. We've been talking about peeling the layers away in your schedule to make time for you with author and blogger Jessica Turner. She's the author of The Fringe Hours, My Fringe Hours, the Mom Creative Blog, and lots of other great resources for moms who are too busy to find time for themselves. We're going to help you learn how. We've got some key steps to finding those pockets of time in the day. They're going to recharge you first before you start taking care of the others. And that involves prioritizing, doesn't it?
It does. It does. You have to figure out in your day what makes sense. What do I need to do and what's a nice to do? I think that's a really good way to look at it. You know, what are the priorities of the things that I have to do, like drop my kids off, and what would be nice to get accomplished, like 3 loads of laundry, but maybe is not a requirement. And that's going to help you then figure out, okay, you know what, I can do only 2 loads, and then that'll give me 30 minutes of time before I go and pick up the kids to do this project that I've really been wanting to do for myself.
Yeah, that really helps. And I think we forget that we can ask other people for help.
Absolutely. You know, I tell a story in the book about how I was doing dishes and I was really irritated because my husband was sitting in our living room and he loves to wood carve, and so he was carving and I'm just slamming dishes and I'm just really irritated, and he didn't know that, you know, hey, I could use a little help in here, that it wasn't just, you know, putting a couple of dishes in the dishwasher. And so all I needed to say was, hey baby, can you come help me with this? And then he was happy to do that, you know. But instead we feel like we need to take on the world and do all of these things ourselves, right? When really we just sometimes need to speak up that, hey, I could use some help in this area.
I've been there. Yeah, for sure.
We like to just be Wonder Woman, you know?
Yeah, it's hard not to, because, you know, you want to feel like you can accomplish it all.
Right.
And then if that resentment builds up, it causes a myriad of other problems.
Absolutely. And, you know, with me working full time, you know, I come home and I only have a couple hours with my kids, so I want to do all of the things instead of sometimes being like, you know what, let him do the baths and I'm just going to take 20 minutes and have quiet myself, you know, like, and that's okay.
That's important too.
And that matters, and that makes me a better mom too, you know?
For sure. All right, saying no is something that I think a lot of us have trouble with.
It's so hard,
because
right?
if you're being asked to do something that's important or good, you hate to say no.
Right, but just because something is good doesn't mean it's good for you right now, right? And so I think we need to remember that. And I think you need to think about for yourself. I had a friend once say to me, you know, if it's not a heck yes, then it's a no. And so think about how that makes you feel to say yes. Are you saying yes to this because you feel like you have to do it? Or are you saying yes because it's genuinely something that brings you joy, that you want to do, that you really have bandwidth to do? You're never going to regret saying no, but you often will regret saying yes, you know. So think about, is this something that I'm going to regret saying yes to a week from now, 2 weeks from now?
Give us some language for saying no.
You know, I think it depends on the situation, but it might be, you know what, I wish that I could participate in that, but right now is not a good time. But what I can do is this. Or it might be saying, you know what, I'm not the best person to do that. You might ask this person. They really have that skill. Or it might be saying, you know what, that is not something that right now our family has the bandwidth to do. We've really created this boundary that this is not something that we're comfortable with, so I'm not going to be able to do that right now. You know, I think just figuring out what makes sense. And then stop talking. Don't just keep going. And don't let someone pressure you into it. You know, I think I really respect when people say no, because they know what their boundaries are. They know that their yes means yes and their no means no, and that's okay.
Yeah. What about reducing distractions? It's so easy. There's so many sparkly things all around.
There are so many sparkly things. I think that goes back to the time tracking, because you can really see where those distractions are. I know for a lot of families it can be really easy to just turn on the television for several hours a night, and we love television and watch a good bit of shows, but we know when we need to turn it off and when it's getting to be too much. Or it might be the internet, it might be, you know, the Facebook, or falling down that rabbit hole, or Pinterest, you know. So figuring out where are those distractions and how can you make them a part of your life but not take over your life.
Yeah. What about things that waste time? I mean, certainly some of those things are.
Right. And I think anything that is taking up too much time can sometimes turn into something that's wasting time. I go back to the example I gave earlier of times of waiting. I think so often that's wasted time because we're just sitting doing nothing, or we're just scrolling on our phones, and we're not really harnessing that time for something that we could do that we love. And part of that means that we have to be prepared. So times of waiting, you're in the doctor's office, for instance, and you're just flipping through a magazine that's 3 months old. Whereas if you would have been prepared of, oh gosh, I'm going to have 20 minutes here where I could do some writing, I could do some journaling, I could do some reading or some knitting or whatever. If you're prepared for that opportunity, then that turns into something that you love.
Great idea. I love it. All right, we're going to take a break right now. We're going to be back with some final thoughts on this special edition of Talk of the Town right after this.